Hello, this is Brandy Meeks. Welcome to Snarktown, USA, where tonight we're reading Chapter 5 of my satire, Underwood, Scotch and Rye. Chapter 5. As a hobby, waxing nostalgic was nearer to poison than drug. Arthur slid the vinyl from its sleeve and carefully placed the needle down. It was the second copy of Who's Next he had owned. In mint condition, like all his albums, Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend, Keith Moon, and John Entwistle sounded as good as they had the first time he heard them in 1971. The dumplings were fine, and the lo mein would keep until tomorrow, but the 12-year-old Glenmoray was like a warm, familiar blanket. Arthur pushed aside the day's events, closed his eyes, and tiptoed back to the tiny apartment in the village on the west side of Lower Manhattan. The record was playing there, too. Between songs, Arthur returned to the present. Less than 6 feet away, on a writing desk, sat his lonely typewriter, dusty and without a voice. A crisp stack of paper was on the ready and, with the exception of the top sheet, would be glad to accept a tale. Arthur didn't have a story to tell. Students en route to the bars laughed with the joie de vivre that comes from a life yet lived. Arthur watched from his porch. A small black cat appeared on the railing and said, "Meow." "I've nothing for you. Get thee back to the tempest and night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the kitty, "Meow." "I can see that was lost on you, little furry one. Such is life," Arthur said. He stood and went back inside. The final song neared the end, and he returned the needle to its carriage. His own ominous bird of yore sat stately upon the kitchen counter. He dialed one of the few numbers he knew and waited. Hello, this is Eric." "Eric, what are you up to? Where are you calling from?" "I've been pulled kicking and screaming into a new century." "Do you mean this century or the last?" "I'm the less than proud owner of an iPhone 5S. "Good for you. You coming down to the bar?" "I might. I just wanted to make sure this thing worked." "See you later," said Eric. The background noise of a new semester in waiting ended. Arthur did like the look of the phone, but not so much that he wanted to waste any more time goofing around with it. The Tiffany lamp cast an easy light on his favorite chair. The book that waited wasn't what he needed. Arthur went back to his bedroom and pulled Elmore Leonard's Djibouti off the shelf. He had bought it a couple of years ago, but not gotten around to giving it a look. Arthur used to read E.L. all the time back in the day. The pages were just as brilliant as he knew they would be. He drank in the dialogue. The hours were pleasant, and the drink did its job. He had been dreaming when the horrible sound of an alarm shook him awake. The book, still on his lap, fell to the floor. It was morning. Arthur was confused. The sound didn't stop. He got up and found that his phone was making all the racket. "Hello?" "It's Wen. Good morning, Dr. Byrne." "First of all, why would I possibly want to be up before noon on my last day to sleep in? And secondly, there's never been such a thing as a good morning." "I'll bring you a coffee to the meeting." "What meeting?" "I took the liberty of scheduling a meeting with the rest of the TAs. I was sure you'd want to meet everyone before tomorrow." "What time is it?" "It's 7:30. I've already been jogging." "What the hell is wrong with you, Lou?" "Nothing. I'm young." "I'm going back to bed," he said, and hung up. The doorbell rang. Arthur's head was throbbing more than most days. and he was prepared to give the Mormons a piece of his mind. He swung open the door to find his annoyingly eager TA standing before him. "Lou, you've got the tenacity of one of those really annoying little dogs that people tend to tire of and leave at kill shelters." She thrust her hand forward and said, "Double mocha latte?" "Thanks. Come in. I'll take a shower and then we can drop you at the shelter. Help yourself to either a piece of cheese or a banana." 1 hour and 7 minutes later, Arthur stood before a crowd of young people, all with the same eager look that Wen flaunted at every turn. "I suppose we should begin with introductions, as we are going to be suffering through this semester together unless I decide to take the coward's way out, which is likely. I'm Dr. Byrne, and I teach literature. I do not, as Lou can attest." A smartly dressed man, probably mid-20s, said, "Who's Lou? Is he dreamy?" Wen can explain how I've come to call her Lou later, but for now, let's just assume our brief time together will be unpleasant. That being said, it's probably best not to form any attachments with ritualistic name learning. So, Kurt, to answer your question, Lou is not your type, I'd wager. The smartly dressed man said, "Did you call me Kurt because of Glee?" "Was that offensive?" Arthur said, not really caring. "No. He's dreamy too. No, he is dreamy, so I'll take it. Are you a Gleek, Dr. Byrne?" "I don't think I'll rise to the level of Gleek per se, but I've taken in an episode or two. You know I'm totally a Gleek. You know I'm totally a Gleek. I simul-tweet every episode and host a chat afterwards." "Moving on, obviously, you're Lawrence. Why can't I be Barack?" "Because I'm going to need you to act like a social media professional, not the president. If you get Oprah's endorsement, we can change your nickname." A nervous redhead averted her eyes. "You'll be Susan?" "Definitely not." "Okay, you can be Susan. Only because I don't care for Pippi, and I think Wendy's could do a better job with their fries." The red-headed girl looked relieved. Arthur paused, partly for effect and partly to survey the young man. His bushy eyebrows and receding hairline didn't really work for his age. The skate punk t-shirt seemed to make sense and went well with his teenaged goth angst frame, but Arthur couldn't get past wanting him to have a bushy mustache to go with the eyebrows. He said, "And you shall be Rudyard." He looked at Arthur and said, "What sort of name is Rudyard?" I thought you might be interesting, like the extraordinary writing of Rudyard Kipling. You have his eyebrows, but alas, it seems I've misjudged you. You shall be A. A what? Just the letter A. If you are good, I might be willing to give you a consonant or two to go with it. Kurt said, "Dr. B, what is your background in social media? I Googled you, and I didn't find anything. Well, except that you wrote a book." "You have uncovered my terrible secret. I'm literate and prefer books. I've been given this horrible assignment as a punishment for living a life that suits me." "So how are you going to teach a class about?" "That's a reasonable question, but the more important question is how is it going to reflect on you, my bright-eyed Glee enthusiast?" "Okay, how is it going to reflect on us?" "Though I am likely to be a horrific teacher of social media, I am able to craft superb letters of recommendation that will make a prospective employer weep. So, though the next few months will be a burden and I will do as little as possible to pull my weight, if we survive, I will make it right for you all with the power of my pen. Lawrence said, "Cool." Susan didn't look sure, but Kurt seemed happy with the answer. A had stopped listening and was furiously texting. Arthur was pleased with himself and declared the meeting adjourned. Well, that's all for Chapter 5. I would like to pre-apologize for my voices. I'm not a voice expert, so I'm doing them the best I can, but I can't really say that they're not going to all sort of sound the same. That's just the way it is. Hopefully the dialogue tags will help you keep track of who is talking, but I do try to keep most scenes with just a handful of characters. Thinking about future chapters now, though, there are some where it's going to be a burden for you to listen. I realize that now, but as of the recording of this, I don't have any followers, so it may well only be me who hears these recordings. I'm fine with that. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time in Snarktown.